If we could go over micro motions, and I think the other one was physical motion,
Mhm. Yes. So
and explain more about that.
okay. So there's the two sides to motion, which is the micro motions and then the physical motions. And I know a couple of people are confused on this, whether they have to do both 3 times a day or just pick one or the other. I would love it if you could fit it into your schedule to do one of each 3 times a day for a couple of minutes at a time. I understand if you can't, but that's the best case scenario because that's going to create the most change the fastest, and it's going to
And
help support. Go ahead.
does it have to be the same thing, or I mean, does it have to be different ones, or can we do the same thing 3 times?
You can do the same one. You can do the same one the entire study if you like, as long as you're finding that it's productive. So, for instance, when I worked on my neck in the beginning, I was trying to find a way to get rid of old car accident injuries and what else was stuck in my neck, and how sometimes I'd be talking to someone and suddenly I'd get a pain in my neck and I'd be like, oh, what is that? That's where the micromotion techniques were developed from, was these experiences. And repeatedly trying to solve the problem, like get rid of a tension headache that came from my neck. I'm like, why is it even in there? And so you could spend the entire study doing just your neck if you have enough things in there that need to be worked on, and especially when something triggers a pain or a discomfort in your neck, if you could take the time to work on it right then, that's fabulous because that's going to give you some of the best results. It's the connection to a thought process, a body reaction, and a belief system all happening at the same time, and then the soul information trying to come in and say, hey, open flow here, open flow here. You're blocking it with this thought or this holding of this belief or this fear. And so that's, what the physical symptom is related to the soul trying to speak to you. And that's why if you can do it in the moment, that's miraculous. If you go to it later, if you can at least write down what thought you had that triggered that or what the situation was. And so for instance, like if you're stressed about your mom and in the moment you have this pain, but you can't take the time, maybe you're working and you can't take the time to do it. But micromotion is so simple. You can actually do it sitting right in front of people and they won't necessarily have a clue. They may think, oh, she's thoughtful. Her head is tilted a little. Things like that. So you can do this just about anywhere, anytime. I do it a lot if I'm driving. I get a red light, and especially if it's in my neck or my shoulders, even in my abdomen, I'll do those just while I'm driving. And then if I need more focus, I'll wait till I stop at a light. But most of them, once you get comfortable with it, you can do them anywhere.
I wonder if I can try some with my back, because for some reason, ever since my mom's back has been hurting, my back has been hurting.
Absolutely. So this is resonance. If you, especially with a parent or a child, you're likely to have the same blocks because you're around each other all the time, and you tend to resonate or copy the belief system and hold it the same way because this is what socialized behavior does to us. In a work situation, you'll find over time that a lot of people will start to have the same symptoms as well. It's not just in a family. So with your mom's back hurting, even if you had gotten rid of some of the issues, now that she's in this moment and you're connecting to her and you're thinking about her, they could be popping up into your physical system. And so definitely working on those. I find with back injury, with like the back ones, the spinal stacking is excellent to release.
And I did that, and it was great,
Awesome. And the other one would be laying flat, doing symmetry, which is so if you lay flat and you raise like one shoulder a little bit and see how your back feels and then raise the other shoulder the same, or even laying flat on your back and taking your arms at your sides and moving them up like you were going to do angel wings in the snow as a kid, staying there and then slowly moving them, you'll feel how the back is adjusting with every tiny little motion as you go up, and each vertebrae and all the nervous system, how that's reacting. And we don't have to know what the problem is, and that's why this is so powerful, because we all have these burdens from the past, and we're going through all these things all the time, but we don't have to know what the problem is in order to open the physical block or the mental, emotional block that's in the body. That's what the micromotion itself does, because attention and awareness is key, and in your subconscious and in your unconscious parts of your brain that you don't have a belief blocking. They're freer to move without saying, oh, well, this won't work, or my back hurts because I sprained it. Those other parts of your brain are freer to move without that control if you are just focused on the physical parts of the body and not thinking about why. The word, always looking for the why is where the brain can get in our way. So when you do a motion, the attention goes to that space where you feel it. And if you can hold, this is the biggest one too, one of the methods that works really, really well. When you find the pain and you focus on the pain and you try to hold on to the pain and don't let it go anywhere, and only one or two things will happen. One is it'll suddenly not be there, and no matter how hard you try, you can't find it to hold it. That means the energy flow opened. Perfect. The other will be if you find it and you hold it and it starts to get more and more intense to the point that you can't handle it. Hold it as long as you can. And I'm not talking like you have a sprained ankle and you're putting weight on it and hurting it. That's not the same thing. I'm talking about finding a small pain, holding it as long as you can as it intensifies, and then just stopping and giving yourself a little rest and doing it again. Because what you're doing when you're holding it and it intensifies, it means the flow of energy is starting, but the block has not moved. And for some things, especially if there's been past injury, that will be more the way it goes, because you'll feel the cellular structure there is different. And as energy is pushing on it, it's showing the difference in the structure. And you don't have to consciously know any of this. The energy itself, the focus and the attention will start to heal and cure those dysfunctions in the physical cells.
Yeah, when you're giving it attention, it's like shining like a light on it. It's like being brought out into the light and can now flow. And
Yep. And again, you don't have to know why you blocked it or how you blocked it. But if you do pay attention to triggers, then again, we can get through the mental side of it as well. And we'll be working more and more on how to connect not just the motion and the release, but how to understand how you created the issue and to release all aspects of it simultaneously. But that's a progressive thing. Starting with just the basic motions is the easiest way. And there'll be times where I'll be like, oh, crap, I can't figure out what's wrong. But if I just do this, if I just breathe, if I just return to the best form of balance I can, then I have the fuel in my body necessary, and I can't even find what was wrong anymore, because the majority of our issues come because there is a lack of fuel. The flow, the energy itself is what's missing. For instance, a second chakra issue, if you have a block in your second chakra, which is, self-love, you may have a low self-esteem, and you may work for years trying to clear this low self-esteem and get nowhere. And it all has to do with there's just no fuel there. So no matter what you do, you can mentally trick yourself to feel okay, but it'll just keep coming back and showing up when you don't want it to, because without fuel, that is what that looks like. The second chakra without fuel looks like low self-esteem is one of the examples. And so trying to fix the issue without giving it fuel can take ages and still never be accomplished. And so our whole goal right now in this study is to bring fuel and flow to the body, and in doing so, the trauma that we've been carrying all this time should be able to naturally heal itself. There are some things that our beliefs hold us to because of fear, but we're going to be working on that more as we keep going. Did somebody else come in with a question?
So I've been having this kind of dull pain on the left side of my middle back, and I think it's my kidney trying to speak to me. And this has been kind of on and off for a few weeks now, so I do feel like from an emotional level something's manifesting there. And so should I just focus with the micro movements in that area? It's kind of difficult to zone in on it, but basically just bring my attention there and try to contract and relax.
Right. So with that, if it's just on one side of the back, that's what I would first try to just completely relax everything so that you feel nothing. And then I would go through thoughts and say, just kind of like speak to the kidney. So kidney, is this you? And see if you feel anything.
Okay.
And especially since you have a suspicion. Now, just so you know, guys, keep in mind that sometimes you already have gotten to the point where you have say like a bladder infection or a kidney stone or something like that. Can you fix that with a micromotion? Yes, but do you necessarily want to do it that way? Because it can sometimes take years. So I'm not saying that you don't seek help from doctors and that you don't use your herbs or your minerals or any of these things that we're used to using. This is in addition to at this point in time. When you master the techniques, you can go something and help somebody that has long-term damage and actually get through it really fast with them. But in the beginning, don't set your other methods aside just for this. This is the support as you're learning. Let's see, what else would you use for that part of the body? I would lay on my back flat, and I would think of raising both shoulders, for instance. And I would just think of it at first and see if I notice a change in the muscles. So with organs, it's a little different because you can't flex the organ itself. So we're working through the muscle structure to try to connect to the organ because it's through the nervous system it connects. So if you think of raising your shoulders and you notice a change, well, there you go. That's one of the ways to check. What are we going to do? We just keep noticing. So I feel uncomfortable. I hold on to that discomfort as long as I can till it disappears. Or I can breathe air into that part of my body. So if you focus on what it feels like where the air comes in and out of your esophagus, what that feels like. Mm-hmm. And then you go to, well, I want to breathe through my body the same way. And so you can focus on that part of your body with the connection to the thought process. And you can breathe the air through the cellular structure versus just the lungs carrying it through your blood. And so that's another way you might try for that. Let's see. Stretching. Stretching would be a good one for that as well. So if you were on your flat-footed with your arms by your side, you would put your hands above your head and start stretching with keeping your feet flat. That's one way to try it. And then you would also try stretching by raising up on your toes. Those are two different stretches. They will get you two totally different reactions depending on where the block is in that part of the body.
Would that be a physical motion or a micro motion, stretching?
That would be the combination of both.
Okay.
So you can do the physical, just stretching and not thinking anything, not connecting to anything, not really paying attention. But you can also do the physical very slow, very deliberate. So the physical motion is for people that have stagnation so for instance, if you sit all day long and work on a computer, you're going to have physical stagnation for sure. And breaking that up every hour, just getting up and even walking around for 5 minutes and coming back, that's enough. But over time, walking around won't do it anymore because now you've just replaced one habit with another habit. So the physical motion's goal is to break up habitual patterns because physical energy, just like mental energy, it creates a system where you don't even think about what if I work and I get up and I go file at the file cabinet and then I come back and I do this several times a day and this is my physical habit, I'm going to still have stagnation even though I'm getting up and moving. But if I get up and I'm at the file cabinet and I twist my hips a little while I'm there, okay, I've changed the pattern. Energy stagnates when there's no flow, when there's no journey to it. And habitual takes away the journey. And even like when you have a child, if you're habitually doing something for them, the body goes to habit. I'm going to help you get ready for bed. That if you do that every day, that motion is no longer unique or different. And that's why yoga poses can be really, really good. And that's why that's one of the physical motion options is because, like for me, I did goddess pose probably every day for like 3 months. And that was the only yoga pose I did because I was working on root chakra issues and they were stuck in my hips and stuck in my legs. And I was working on, stuff that I had stored in them. And just doing that felt so good. But when I got to the point that it stopped feeling good, I'm like, I've worked through everything I can work through this way. I have to now alter it in some way to continue my growth and my change. Does that make sense?
So much sense, yes.
I was doing the one with the neck where you move the neck to the side. And about the time it was as though I was making, I was feeling, this is working. I'm making progress. All of a sudden, different aches started showing up in different places.
Yes.
And I wasn't sure whether I should go back to the beginning and deal with them all, or what?
Okay, so there's no must way to do anything. So when that starts to happen, I can explain to you what's going on so that you can then be aware and make a decision in each moment what you want to work on. So when you start to open energy in one spot of the body, now it's flowing, and it's going to bring awareness to the next spot. So normally an injury or an emotional issue, it's not just in one spot. Because we do multiple things at the same time, especially when it comes to trauma, you're going to have, 5, maybe up to 15 spots in the body that are all connected to hold that trauma. So you can start in the neck and then just stay focused on the neck. But since the goal of the release of the study is trauma release, I think letting yourself go to the next spot, and the one that's asking for the attention, and then just applying it to the spot that's asking for the attention is likely to get you more success in what we're doing now. But if you were trying to, for instance, like I said, when I was trying to get rid of headaches, tension headaches, well, then I would want to do my neck. I'd want to go through the body each step it gives me so I could release that next spot that's connected to it. But I'd also want to go back to the neck again. So when you go from one spot and say it moves through 3 to 4 spots and then you don't find anything new, then I would go to the neck and do it again, because the goal is to strengthen the neck. And by doing so, you'll find more and more connections in different parts of the body. And you'll be giving attention to those, which allows for the release, so that the habitual patterns, again, they're stored, and they have anywhere, there's rare that you're going to have just one spot. It's normally going to be 3 to 5 spots for every issue that you have. And like I said, in a trauma issue, if you were running in your trauma experience, then now you have physical motion. You're not just sitting still. If you were sitting still and you started to weep, well, there's another spot in the body that's going to tie to. So you could be running, afraid, looking over your shoulder, crying, and trip. Now you're likely to have anywhere from 4 to 15 spots in the body that connect in that moment that hold the trauma in the physical form. So that's why following those as they go is an excellent course of action. But use your intuition as you can in these situations to, okay, what do you feel like you want to keep doing? Do you want to go back and focus on just the neck, or do you want to move through all of the parts? And if it feels scary to go to the next spot, then I strongly suggest that you go ahead and go anyway. And that's the thing about the emotion or mental discomfort during this process is it's getting to the cells in the brain that tie to the physical as well. So if you start to feel like you're breathing faster and uncomfortable, work on the breath, but also know that that's because the brain is finding a spot that's connected to it as well, and it's triggering your fight or flight, nervous system into we're not okay. This experience was not okay, therefore we're not okay as we remember it. And we want to break the body's connection to that.
I guess one of the things I heard you say is that you might go to whatever is the loudest. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's one of the options, and because this is recorded, you'll be able to go back and listen to all the different options, but one of them is definitely to go to the loudest. Now, here's the other thing, though. When it comes to wellness, the loudest thing is not always the one that needs the most attention. Sometimes it's the quietest thing that gives us our freedom back. Because once you listen to the quietest thing, once the attention goes there, that tends to be more in connection to the intuitive aspect of ourselves, the quietest part. The noisiest part is more connected to the physical, this realm here that we're in. But you need to have both, the physical, the mental, the intuition. You need to have all of these parts connected. So you can't just do the noisy ones and expect the same results. But there is a time and place that you want to work on the noisy ones, and then there will be a time and place where you want to work on the quiet ones. And just doing what you're compelled to do for now is what we're going to keep going with. And if you're not progressing by doing what you're compelled, then we're going to take a longer look at it and look at some other options, because there are times where you're going to get stuck and it's like, well, what I'm doing just isn't working and I don't know what else to do. And that's what we're going to be developing in the study, is your ability to know, okay, what other options do I have? What else can I apply here? What can I try to open up, because I can't possibly know what this is from or what it's all connected to. without, maybe opening up something that I'm not ready to face again. So that's like dormant memories that you may have, experiences that were too painful that you don't have the fuel to handle yet. We want to make sure we get the body ready before we consciously try to invoke any of that or open that up.
Okay.
Questions?
Okay, I have a question. So you mentioned that the idea would be to do one of each 3 times a day. Did you mean, say it was all in one day, say it was a Wednesday, would you do one of basic, one period of passive, and one period of music? Or
no.
would you do...
No,
right.
Just one physical and one micro motion twice, the 3 times a day. We're going to be adding more. I just haven't had a chance to write them all out, and I was thinking as we talk about them, like ocular. So we have ocular as one of the things we're going to put down. And an ocular micro motion is just to relax your eyes and let your eyes vibrate on their own. That's the basic concept of it, but there's more to it than that. So I would like to do that as a group, to try to experience it, to put it into words, because what I know to do is difficult to put into words for ocular. Like when you relax your eyes and then they start to vibrate, occasionally they might pull to one side. Oh, okay. Well, allow that to pull to that side. And if it holds for any amount of time, then, again, if it feels like it's holding itself, let it go. But if you feel like you're starting to hold it yourself, then relax and start over. So that's an ocular one, and we're going to be adding that one. I think there's probably about 10 micro motions in all that we're gonna have by the time we're done. And of course, there's variables where you combine them. You can sit up, you can lay down, you can be in water, you can hold your breath through a micro motion. That'll change it. So there's nothing very rigid about this concept. It's just something that if I give you an idea of something to try, eventually it's going to help you find a way that works for you. And that's the other part of the study this time. When you find something that's a little different, make sure you're journaling that or putting it in the micromotion notes, because we're trying to get a bigger picture to help more people. So if we can find a way to verbalize what you're experiencing from more than just the direction of me, we're likely to come up with vocabulary and information that can be invaluable.
Okay, but and would you continue with that, like say it was a passive one, would you continue with that as a practice the following day and the day after that, or would you just choose whichever one popped out to you?
It's completely up to you. There's nothing that it has to be. If you feel compelled, so for instance, I worked on abdominal muscles and in regards to breath for 4 months straight. And I always did it. I was always compelled to do it when I was driving, because on the freeway, we move into a different part of ourselves. And it was, freeway driving, I started to notice that I was overgiving in freeway driving, and I thought, how bizarre. And it encouraged my abdominal muscles to work differently. And so breathing through my abdominal muscles during that was a micromotion practice that I did for 4 months. And at the end, my core was so strong. And when I had to suddenly help somebody who was having an abdominal issue, I had this strong core and this strong understanding of balance, and I was able to just mimic it for their energetic system, and their system could pick it up. So this is what I mean. Why you'll be developing something that I haven't done. So it's not a rigid practice that I'm offering you. I'm giving you ideas, things to try. You can apply it any way you want. You can add any variable you want. I just hope that you'll share that with the group so that we can, again, offer more possibilities to everyone. With the goddess pose, when I did that one, that is a physical pose to break the stagnation. But as I realized that my legs were tight, if I would breathe through it, so micromotion breath, breathing through my legs, they would start to lower more, and the tightness would just go away. The tightness is because there's no flow. I have something blocking. The block is giving the body a physical stress, and in doing so, my body doesn't move freely. And over time, it would get really good, and then suddenly I had no more progress, and I would stop. If I waited a couple days, did it again, then I would realize, oh, whatever I had fixed, I have blocked again, and I would find that I could do it again. So it's not that you can't go back to something, or even like I said, I did the breath in my abdomen for 4 months straight. It's definitely this becomes an ongoing process whenever I have a physical issue and I don't recognize the trigger, or I think maybe this isn't something that's mine that I'm resonating with. This is the techniques that I use and clear the body every time. Therefore, I don't have to take on the burden of something that's not mine. Did I clear that up, or did I make it worse?
No, that's good.
Okay. And I heard another voice who has a question.
Yeah, that was me. It's Sam.
Hi.
Hi. You mentioned the journaling, our journaling experience,
yes.
our experiences, and the importance of that. So, if we're working on our micro emotions and, we're having our experiences or going through our feelings, to what extent should we discern what we report so you're not getting flooded with, I don't want to minimize what we're experiencing, but what if it's minuscule as opposed to, wow, this could be really something important for the study, to this is marginal? I mean,
right.
You know what I mean?
You won't know that until the end. So here's the thing about that. And you can also do audio recording styles, because I know for myself sometimes I'm doing this and I have a trampoline method we'll try to get to, and I would just record what I was experiencing while I was doing it, and because it's hard to put into words afterwards. So even having something recording while you're doing it is great, just speaking into a recorder. And there's nothing that's too much. I may not get through all the material now. That's the thing. As it piles up, I will be using it later. When it's something that you think is amazing and important, if you want to send an email to me or in WhatsApp or a text message, and any of those easy forms, and say, hey, I think this is something we should do right away that everybody should be aware of. Or if you want to bring it up on a call, that's perfect. But again, all of it eventually will be very useful.
Okay.
And don't overwhelm yourself with the idea that you have to tell me everything either. It's just information is important. Sorry, I don't know what else to say. Next question.
Christine, it's Shelley. I just had a question. I just started jogging again. I haven't been exercising for about 5 months, and I'm no longer a member of it. I'm no longer a member of a gym, so I'm just in my local area making an effort to get my body moving.
Yes.
Would the jogging actually count as a physical activity or no?
Yes, it will, and I'm going to give you some advice on that, because this is important, because it's going to become habitual for you. So there's a couple of things, especially since when you're not in a gym and you're moving around outside. There's a lot of options. For instance, I've gone through phases of jogging too in order to clear up stuff, and noticed that for a while it would be amazing and I'd get such great release, and then I'd be like, okay, that stopped, and now it just feels like I'm exercising. What happened? What's different? And so I started putting on music while I was doing my exercising. That made a big difference. Okay, this song, I feel inspired. My arms want to move up into the air. Instead of just doing my regular jogging motions, I'm going to allow my body to move. So now I'm more like a dancing technique, allowing my body to move in a way that it feels while I'm jogging, because the jogging is the legs. That's the root chakra. And root chakra has storage of so many issues, food, clothing, shelter, tribal rules, especially tribal rules. So as you're drawing that physical part of your body, those little bubbles of energy are bursting, and information is being released in your system, and you're either going to grab it back or you're going to let it go. And I remember there's a park area I could go barefoot. Not walking in a straight line also made a big difference for me at times.
Okay.
Going up a hill, down a hill. I mean, there's lots of variables that you can look for in your practice. Looking at the ground more, looking up more, you will notice where you put your eyes really changes how you experience the motion of the energy. And again, music was great for me, very, very helpful. And putting on a song, and I might listen to the same song over and over for the hour that I'm exercising, or I might want to change it up. It's just following whatever your need is. And there would be songs that I would hear and I'd be like, gosh, that just is speaking to me right now. And sometimes I would listen to that same song for an hour, but the next day when I'd go to play it again, it doesn't have the same feeling anymore. It doesn't mean anything to me today. I guess I got what I needed out of that, and I'm done. And so it's like it's being able to be fluid with the possibilities versus rigid and habitual.
Okay, no, I really like that. For right now, what I'm doing is just a short run. It's like maybe 20 minutes at max. But then at the end of it, I stand and lean against a tree. I put my spine against a tree just to help clear and ground.
Mm-hmm.
But so basically, I'll just note the important thing is to notice when it's starting to feel more like exercise versus some kind of release, and then to change it.
Right.
Okay.
Even with the tree, you might notice, okay, it used to feel really good, and now it's just a habit. And so I'm going to turn around and I'm going to hug the tree now versus just leaning on it. Or I'm going to put my side to the tree instead of my back. There's, again, just finding a variable that continues the motion of change versus the habitual stagnation.
Okay. Thank you.
Gosh, I can remember, too, even just standing on one foot and putting one foot against the tree and then switching the feet over time and feeling the differences with that. That's another thing. And, yeah, lots of variables.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You can make us a soundtrack of all that music if you want to.
Oh, I can send you a playlist for sure. Oh, that's another thing.
There you go.
Yes, actually, that is something on my list for you guys, is when you are doing music and you're having your experiences, if you can put down what songs you're listening to, because I do believe, so like there's a song like Stronger, and that one, it's like, when I'm feeling unhappy or a little low, like, my gosh, why is the world such a struggle? And you put on a song like Stronger, and you start to feel empowered, and you start to do all this body motion to it. You really do change your situation. You can change the energetic balance in your life just by doing that. So any songs that work for you guys, I would love to make a playlist with everybody's music and make that available to all of us. I can put it on YouTube, and I'll make a playlist of the ones that some of my top 10 go-to songs that really seem to help me get through things.
That's awesome.
And make that available too. Thank you for bringing that up.
You bet. I'm going to cut out. I got to head back to work, but nice to talk to you all.
Awesome. We should probably end the call. We try to keep them at a half hour.
All right, bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.